Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The stifling heat in the airport seemed to wind its way through the security line, an eternal coil of anxious souls. Beads of sweat formed on the passenger's forehead, their grip on essential documents betraying their nerves. Blonde locks, now gracefully touching their shoulders, framed features that told a story of transformation. Hormone therapy had worked its gentle miracle. The pink cardigan adorned a figure honed by resilience, while the floral skirt swayed with each tentative step. "Next!" The TSA agent's voice cut through the air, devoid of warmth or judgment. With deliberate femininity, they approached and proffered the paperwork, fingertips whispering against the counter. Observant eyes took in the contrast between the masculine name and image on the passport and the delicate individual in pink and floral. The agent's face remained impassive, but for a slight furrowing of his brows. "This can't be you," he said, more question than statement. "I'm in the process of transitioning." The agent's expression remained unmoved. "I need to call my supervisor." A familiar sinking feeling settled in the stomach. This scene had played out dozens of times over the past year, at bars, banks, pharmacies, and any other place requiring identification. Each incident was a painful reminder of the disconnect between identity and documentation. 10 minutes later, after additional questioning and uncomfortable stares from both the supervisor and nearby travelers, permission to proceed was grudgingly granted. Gathering the carry-on bags, tears threatened to spill, but were held back with practiced determination. This had to change. It was time to update those documents. Back at home, the pink cardigan hung neatly in the closet beside other carefully selected feminine garments. The apartment was small but cozy, decorated with touches of personality, potted plants on the windowsill, watercolor paintings on the walls, and a bookshelf overflowing with fantasy novels and transgender resource books. Sitting at the small desk in the corner of the living room, fingers moved across the keyboard, searching for information about legally changing gender markers on identification. The process looked daunting. Medical documentation required, court appearances, fees to be paid, forms to be filled out. A hand reached up to brush away the blonde strands from tired eyes. After a year of hormone therapy, the face in the mirror had changed significantly. Cheekbones seemed higher, jaw less defined, skin smoother. It was a face that regularly passed as female in public, except when the damned ID came out. Jaden Howard, read the passport and driver's license. A name that no longer fit. A gender marker that caused constant pain. Sarai, whispered the lips, testing the sound of it in the quiet room. Sarai Howard. The name had been chosen months ago, but was used only among close friends. It felt right, like coming home after a long journey. The next morning brought a flurry of activity. The DMV website provided a list of requirements for updating identification. Medical documentation from a licensed healthcare provider confirming gender transition treatment would be needed, along with court orders for the name change. "Dr. Rivera's office," answered a friendly voice after 3 rings. "Hello, this is Jaden Howard. I'm a patient of Dr. Rivera's, and I need documentation of my hormone therapy for a legal gender marker change." "Of course. Dr. Rivera is familiar with these requests. Can you come in on Thursday at 10 a.m.? She'll need to see you briefly before preparing the documentation." "Thursday works perfectly. Thank you." After hanging up, the next call was to a local attorney who specialized in LGBTQ legal matters. Benson Legal Services. "Hi, I need help with filing for a legal name change as part of gender transition." The receptionist was efficient and compassionate. We can definitely help with that. Attorney Benson has guided many clients through this process. Our initial consultation is $150, and we can get you in next Tuesday at 3 p.m. 2 weeks later, equipped with a folder containing medical documentation and preliminary paperwork for the name change, it was time to begin the official process. The morning routine had taken on new significance. Every element of presentation had to be perfect. Standing before the bathroom mirror, careful hands applied light makeup, just enough to enhance features without appearing overdone. The blonde hair was brushed until it gleamed, falling in a feminine style around the increasingly feminine face. The pink cardigan had become something of a security blanket, worn during every important transition milestone. The courthouse was intimidating, a massive stone structure with pillars that seemed to judge those who approached. Inside, after navigating through security and consulting a directory, the correct office was located on the 3rd floor. "I'm here to file for a legal name change," came the slightly nervous explanation to the clerk behind the counter. The clerk, a middle-aged woman with reading glasses perched on her nose, pushed a form across the counter. "Fill this out completely. The filing fee is $200. Once processed, a hearing date will be scheduled, typically within 45 days. The next month and a half passed in a blur of anticipation and anxiety. The hearing itself was anticlimactic, a brief 10 minutes before a judge who asked a few perfunctory questions about the reasons for the name change. "And you understand that this change is not for purposes of fraud or to escape debt or legal obligations?" the judge asked, peering over half-moon spectacles. "Yes, Your Honor. I'm transgender and am aligning my legal name with my gender identity." The judge nodded, stamped several forms, and that was it. Sarai Howard existed legally now, though the gender marker on identification would require separate procedures. With the court order for the name change in hand, the next step was the Social Security office. Another line, another explanation, another set of eyes that sometimes held judgment and sometimes compassion. Then came the DMV for the driver's license update. This would be the big one. Both name and gender marker could be changed with the right documentation, which was now all assembled in a meticulously organized folder. The night before the DMV appointment, sleep proved elusive. Tossing and turning beneath light cotton sheets, Sarai's mind raced through all the possible obstacles and objections that might arise. What if they denied the change? What if the documentation wasn't sufficient? What if she encountered a prejudiced clerk? Morning arrived with both dread and determination. For this important day, the pink cardigan would stay in the closet. Instead, Sarai selected a navy blue blazer to wear over a crisp white blouse and a professional-looking pencil skirt. Black pumps completed the ensemble. The outfit was chosen deliberately to project confidence and legitimacy. The DMV was predictably busy, even first thing in the morning. Taking a number from the dispenser, Sarai found a seat and waited, clutching the precious folder of documents. The electronic display showed she was still 15 numbers away from being called. Time crawled by as Sarai observed other customers completing their transactions. An elderly man renewing his license, a teenager excitedly receiving her first ID, a woman arguing about a registration fee. "Number 47, announced the automated voice over the speaker. Heart pounding, Sarai approached counter number 3, where a clerk with graying hair and glasses waited. "Good morning," Sarai began, voice carefully modulated to its practiced feminine pitch. "I need to update my driver's license with both a name change and gender marker change. I have all the required documentation." The clerk, whose nameplate read Patricia, glanced up with an unreadable expression. "I'll need to see all your documentation, plus your current ID." With slightly shaking hands, Sarai placed each document on the counter. The court order for name change, the letter from Dr. Rivera confirming 1 year of hormone therapy, the updated Social Security card, the current driver's license, and the completed application form. Patricia examined each document carefully, occasionally typing information into her computer. The silence stretched uncomfortably. "Everything appears to be in order," she finally said, looking up. "We'll need to take a new photo, of course." Relief flooded through Sarai's body. "Thank you." "The fee is $25 for a replacement license. I'll also need you to complete this additional form specifically for the gender marker change." The form was straightforward, requiring basic information and a signed declaration that the gender change was not for fraudulent purposes. "Stand against the blue screen for your photo, please," Patricia instructed after processing the payment. Sarai stood straight, adjusted the navy blazer, and offered a small, genuine smile for the camera. "We'll mail your permanent license within 7 to 10 business days. In the meantime, here's your temporary paper license with the updated information." Looking down at the temporary license, Sarai felt a surge of emotion. There it was in black and white. Sarai Howard and F for female. The disconnect was finally resolved. The ID would no longer betray her. "Thank you," she managed to say through the tightness in her throat. "This means more than you know." Patricia's professional demeanor softened slightly. "I've been doing this job for 22 years. Helping people get identification that properly reflects who they are is one of the more meaningful parts of it." Walking out of the DMV into the bright afternoon sunlight, Sarai felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The temporary license was carefully placed in her wallet where the old one had been. It represented not just a name and gender marker change, but freedom. Freedom from explanations, from awkward questions, from the pain of being misidentified. That evening, Sarai celebrated with her closest friends at a small gathering in her apartment. The pink cardigan was back on, paired with comfortable jeans and flats. "To Sarai Howard," toasted her friend Miguel, raising a glass of champagne. "Officially and legally herself at last." The small group cheered, and Sarai felt tears of happiness well up. "I still can't believe it went so smoothly," she admitted. "I was prepared for a fight." "You've done all the hard work over the past year," said her roommate Vanessa. "All the research, all the doctor's appointments, all the legal consultations. You earned this." Later, after her friends had gone home, Sarai stood before the mirror in her bedroom. The blonde hair fell softly around her face, which continued to change subtly with each month of hormone therapy. The pink cardigan that had become her armor during the most difficult parts of her transition hugged her developing curves. "Hello, Sarai Howard," she whispered to her reflection, taking out the temporary license and looking at it again. The photo showed a confident woman in a navy blazer, professional, composed, authentic. The permanent license arrived exactly 1 week later in a nondescript envelope. Holding the official plastic card in her hand felt surreal. It was small, just a few inches of laminated plastic, but it represented months of effort, paperwork, and courage. With her documentation finally updated, Sarai began planning a trip she'd been postponing, a visit to her parents in Colorado. They had been supportive but hadn't seen her in person since before her transition began in earnest. The prospect was both exciting and terrifying. The flight was booked for the following month, giving Sarai time to prepare emotionally for the reunion. She shopped for new clothes, wanting to make a good impression. Though she kept the beloved pink cardigan, She added several new pieces to her wardrobe: a burgundy sweater dress, black leggings, and comfortable ankle boots for Colorado's cooler climate. As the travel date approached, Sarai packed methodically, selecting outfits for each day of the week-long visit. The pink cardigan was carefully folded on top, her security blanket for the emotional journey ahead. The morning of the flight, Sarai dressed in the burgundy sweater dress with black leggings and her comfortable ankle boots. The blonde hair was styled simply, and her makeup was natural and understated. She wanted her parents to see her as she truly was, not overdone, just authentically herself. This time, approaching the TSA checkpoint felt completely different. Sarai handed over her new ID and boarding pass with confidence. The agent glanced at the documents, then at her face. "Thank you, Ms. Howard. Have a good flight." No questions, no confusion, no calling for supervisors. Just the normal, unmemorable interaction that cisgender people took for granted. Boarding the plane, Sarai felt a strange sense of anonymity, the blessed anonymity of having her paperwork match her presentation. She was just another female passenger taking her seat, storing her carry-on, buckling her seatbelt. The flight to Denver was smooth, giving Sarai time to gather her thoughts. Her parents had been supportive over the phone and in text messages, but seeing them in person would be different. Would they truly see her as their daughter now? Deplaning in Denver, Sarai's nerves returned. She pulled the pink cardigan from her carry-on and slipped it on over the burgundy dress, armor for the meeting ahead. Her parents were waiting past security, her mother holding a small sign that read, "Welcome home, Sarai," in carefully painted letters. The sight of it brought immediate tears. "Mom! Dad!" Sarai called out, walking toward them with her carry-on rolling behind her. Her mother's eyes widened slightly as she took in the changes. The feminine clothing, the longer blonde hair, the softer features, but her smile never faltered. "Sarai," she said, arms opening for an embrace. "You look beautiful, honey." Her father seemed momentarily frozen, blinking rapidly before stepping forward.
"It's good to see you,"
he said, voice gruff with emotion as he awkwardly patted her shoulder before pulling her into a quick hug. In the car ride to their suburban home, her mother chatted continuously, filling the silence with updates on neighbors and relatives, while her father concentrated on driving, occasionally glancing at Sarai in the rearview mirror. "We turned your old room into a proper guest room," her mother explained, as they pulled into the driveway of the 2-story house where Sarai had grown up. "I hope that's okay." "Of course it is," Sarai assured her. "I'm not the same person who left that room behind." Inside, the house smelled of cinnamon and apples. Her mother had been baking. The familiar scent collided with the strangeness of being there as Sarai, rather than Jaden, creating an odd dissonance. "I made your favorite apple pie," her mother said, leading the way to the kitchen. "Some things don't change, right?" "Right," Sarai agreed, grateful for the acknowledgement of continuity amid all the change. That evening, after a somewhat awkward dinner where her father asked carefully neutral questions about her job and apartment, Sarai unpacked in the guest room that had once been hers. The sports trophies and video game posters were gone, replaced by generic landscape paintings and a quilted bedspread. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she called. Her father entered, looking uncomfortable. He held a small box in his hands.
"Your mother and I got you something. A homecoming gift, I guess."
Sarai took the box, touched by the gesture. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a pendant shaped like a butterfly.
Mom picked it out,
Her father admitted.
but we both thought, well, it seemed appropriate. Transformation and all that.
It's beautiful, Sarai said softly, fingers tracing the butterfly's wings. Thank you. Her father nodded, hands shoved in his pockets.
This isn't easy for me,
He admitted bluntly.
I had a son for 28 years. It's an adjustment.
I know, Dad. It's been an adjustment for me, too.
But,
He continued, meeting her eyes directly for the first time since her arrival.
what matters is that you're happy.
Are you? Happy, I mean. I am, Sarai answered without hesitation. For the first time, I feel like the outside matches the inside. I feel whole. Her father nodded again, processing this.
Then that's what counts.
He moved awkwardly, as if unsure whether to hug her, but eventually extended his hand.
Welcome home, Sarai.
The handshake felt formal but sincere, a new beginning between father and daughter. The rest of the visit unfolded with gradually decreasing awkwardness. Her mother adapted more quickly, easily switching to feminine pronouns and the name Sarai. Her father tried, occasionally slipping up but immediately correcting himself with genuine effort. On the third day, they ventured out to a local restaurant for dinner. It was Sarai's first public outing, with her parents as their daughter. Table for 3, please, her mother told the hostess. Right this way, ladies and gentlemen, the hostess responded, leading them to a booth by the window. Sarai wore the pink cardigan over a simple black dress with the silver butterfly necklace at her throat. As they settled into the booth, she noticed her father watching her closely. What? She asked, suddenly self-conscious. He shook his head slightly. Nothing, just... You remind me of your Aunt Irene when she was young. Something about your expressions? It was the first time he had connected her to any female relative, the first acknowledgement of seeing femininity as inherent to her rather than applied. Sarai felt a rush of validation. Mom always said I had Aunt Irene's eyes, she ventured. Her father considered this, then nodded. She was right. The meal progressed pleasantly, with conversation flowing more naturally than before. When the check came, her father handed his credit card to the server without looking at the bill. Dad, let me contribute, Sarai protested. Absolutely not! This is our treat! He hesitated, then added gruffly, I've been taking my kid out to dinner for decades. That's not changing now. Her mother reached across the table to squeeze Sarai's hand. Some things stay the same, even when everything else changes. On the morning of her departure, Sarai packed the pink cardigan last, leaving it accessible for the journey home. The visit had been healing in ways she hadn't anticipated. Her parents weren't perfect, but their efforts to understand and support her were genuine. Her mother hugged her tightly at the airport drop-off. Call when you land, honey. I want to know you got home safely. I will, Mom. Her father stood awkwardly for a moment before stepping forward for a proper hug.
Take care of yourself, Sarai,
he said, the name now coming naturally to his lips. I love you both, Sarai told them, voice thick with emotion. The return journey through security was again blissfully uneventful. Sarai Howard, female, traveling with proper identification that matched her appearance. No questions, no suspicious looks, no humiliation. On the plane, seated by the window, Sarai watched Colorado recede beneath her, She fingered the butterfly pendant at her throat, reflecting on transformations of her body, her documents, her relationships, her life. The flight attendant paused beside her row. "Anything to drink, miss?" "Water, please," Sarai replied, still finding joy in these small, affirming interactions. 2 months later, Sarai stood in front of her bathroom mirror, applying a light coat of mascara before work. The blonde hair had grown another inch, now reaching past her shoulders. The hormones continued to work their gradual magic, softening her features further and redistributing fat to create more feminine contours. Her phone buzzed with a text from Miguel. "Don't forget dinner tonight. Reservations at 7. Sarai smiled at the reminder. It was her birthday, her first since legally becoming Sarai. Her friends were taking her out to celebrate. For work, she chose a green blouse and black trousers, professional but feminine. The butterfly necklace from her parents had become a daily accessory, a reminder of acceptance and transformation. At the office, where she worked as a graphic designer, her coworkers had decorated her desk with balloons and a small cake. Most had known her before transition, had witnessed the gradual changes, had adapted to her new name and pronouns with varying degrees of ease but universal respect. "Happy birthday, Sarai!" called her supervisor, Diane, bringing over a gift bag. "This is from the whole team!" Inside was a beautiful silk scarf in shades of teal and gold. "It's gorgeous!" Sarai exclaimed, immediately looping it around her neck over the green blouse. "It matches your eyes," Diane noted with approval. "We all chipped in to pick it out." The workday passed in a pleasant blur of birthday wishes and normal tasks. At 5, Sarai packed up her laptop and headed home to change for dinner. For the evening celebration, she chose a black cocktail dress that highlighted her developing curves, paired with the teal and gold scarf and, of course, the pink cardigan. The beloved cardigan had seen her through so much of her journey. It seemed fitting to wear it for this milestone. The restaurant was upscale, with soft lighting and white tablecloths. Miguel, Vanessa, and 4 other close friends were already seated when Sarai arrived. "There she is!" Vanessa called out, waving. Miguel stood to pull out Sarai's chair.
"Happy birthday, beautiful. The first of many as your authentic self."
Dinner was filled with laughter, good food, and reminiscences. These were the friends who had supported her through every step of her transition, from the first tentative discussions about gender identity to celebrating each milestone along the way. "I have something to share," Sarai announced as dessert was served. "I got a letter yesterday. My passport has been updated." The table erupted in cheers and congratulations. "That's the last piece, right?" asked Miguel. "All your documentation is aligned now?" Sarai nodded, feeling a profound sense of completion. Everything matches who I am now. Later that night, back in her apartment, Sarai hung the pink cardigan carefully in her closet. It had been with her through the hardest parts of her journey, a symbol of the femininity she had finally been able to express openly. Sitting on the edge of her bed, she opened her wallet and removed all her identification cards, laying them side by side: driver's license, social security card, health insurance card, workplace ID, and now the updated passport, all bearing the name Sarai Howard, all listing her gender as female. A year ago, these small rectangles of plastic and paper had been sources of anxiety and pain, constant reminders of the disconnect between her identity and how the world classified her. Now they were simply functional items, unremarkable in their accuracy. Sarai gathered the cards back into her wallet, then reached for her phone to send one last text before bed. It went to her parents. Just wanted to say thank you again for the butterfly necklace. I wear it every day. It reminds me that change can be beautiful. Her mother replied almost immediately. You've always been our butterfly. We just didn't know it until now. Happy birthday, sweetheart. Setting the phone aside, Sarai turned off the bedside lamp and settled under the covers. Tomorrow would be just an ordinary day, and that ordinariness was perhaps the greatest gift of all. No more dreading ID checks. No more explaining the discrepancy between appearance and documentation. No more feeling like an imposter in official situations. Sarai Howard, female, would move through the world with the simple dignity of being recognized for who she truly was. The alignment of her inner truth and outer documentation was complete. The journey wasn't over. Transition was an ongoing process. But this essential hurdle had been cleared. In the darkness of her bedroom, Sarai touched the butterfly pendant at her throat and smiled. Transformation complete, she was finally, officially, legally herself.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!